Hey there, and welcome to today's Explainer. Let's dive right in. Our mission for this deep dive is to explore a truly fascinating observation record from Tommy Yoshida, who you might also know as Tsutomu Yoshida. As our compass today, we're going to use the core questions raised in the main story sections of both his Japanese and international editions. But here's the twist. We aren't just reviewing a novel, we're using it as a lens to deeply contemplate the interaction between technology and humanity, how we work, and where we actually fit into an increasingly automated world. Right off the bat, I want you to think of this explainer as a space to just observe. As Yoshida himself perfectly points out in his own documentation, this record does not reach a conclusion. We are absolutely not here to evaluate AI performance or force any neat, definitive answers on you today. Instead, we're doing something a bit different. We are observing the delicate, ongoing dance of language, technology, and human judgment during an era of profound transition. We're intentionally leaving thoughts unfinished and questions pending. It's really an exercise in observing the messy, beautiful reality of being human in a rapidly shifting landscape. And that brings us to the central subject of Yoshida's upcoming Kindle novel, The Reason a First-Year Condominium Saleswoman Was Told to Read Keynes. Meet our protagonist, Chika Yoshino. She's a 22-year-old recent university grad who's just starting out her career in condominium sales. What is absolutely essential to understand here is that Chika is far from some gifted top performer. She isn't a perfectly optimized algorithm. She is very, very human, filled with the exact same messy doubts and insecurities we've all faced on day one of a new job. Think for a second about the kind of media we usually consume. On one hand, you have your romantic reality shows, right? They completely thrive on flashy drama and these rapidly changing emotional conflicts. But Yoshida introduces us to something entirely different, the workplace reality novel. Instead of manufactured drama or massive world-altering events, the narrative is driven by the quiet, everyday reality of just doing a job. It explores how a young woman changes through seemingly mundane day-to-day encounters with her work, her customers, her colleagues, and society at large. It turns out there is an incredibly profound story in just watching someone navigate their daily responsibilities. Let's actually walk through the reality of Chika's day. Have you ever felt that heavy, palpable tension of your first morning assembly, or found yourself standing out in the sweltering summer heat for a super awkward site check? Picture her in the afternoon, her hand is literally hovering over the phone, just trying to summon the courage to make a cold call. We've all been there. And then, returning home, playing the whole day back in her head, agonizing over whether she handled a conversation correctly. This timeline completely normalizes those quiet, everyday failures in the overwhelming reality of simply being a new graduate, trying to find your footing in a really complex world. So, it really begs the question, why her? Why build a whole story around a struggling 22-year-old beginner? Why focus on someone hovering in uncertainty rather than a confident, highly successful leader whose victories we can instantly cheer for? Well, Yoshida notes something interesting. He points out that discussions about women's careers often skip straight to the end goal, achievement, empowerment, leadership. But he wanted to capture a completely different reality. He wanted to portray professional growth without presenting success as something immediate or effortless. Because long before anyone reaches those highly visible stages of career achievement, they have to survive this unpolished, invisible beginning time. This is the incredibly messy period of literally learning how to just speak in a professional setting, how to make a basic decision without totally freezing up. It's figuring out how to recover from a seemingly devastating mistake that makes you want to pack up and quit. It's the time spent trying to decode a senior colleague's advice and grasping the unspoken dynamics of an office. This raw, unrefined beginning, with all its awkwardness, is the necessary foundation for absolutely everything that comes later. Yoshida also presents this beautifully nuanced view on employment itself. The story doesn't just preach endurance for the sake of endurance. It doesn't tell young people they just need to grit their teeth and stay in a workplace no matter how bad it gets. He fully acknowledges that leaving can sometimes be absolutely necessary for self-preservation. Staying isn't automatically the right choice, and leaving isn't automatically a failure. Instead, he focuses deeply on that highly uncertain time right before a decision is made, that uniquely human experience of hovering in the gray area, feeling out the environment, and trying to understand your own place within it. And in this uncertain time, the narrative tension doesn't come from sudden, massive promotions. It comes from quiet, small growth. It's about doing a task today that felt entirely impossible to you yesterday. It's about finally noticing a subtle micro-expression on a customer's face that you totally would have missed a week ago, or having a really confusing comment from a coworker suddenly make perfect sense 3 days later. Unlike an AI that just gets perfectly updated overnight, these tiny, incremental changes are intensely human. They don't make the front page of the news, but they gradually, steadily open up new choices for the protagonist. Which brings up a really fascinating point about the book's title. Why on earth is a struggling first-year sales rep reading Keynesian economics? Well, because it brilliantly shows us how the micro creates the macro. Yoshida illustrates how a 22-year-old's hesitant phone calls, her daily struggles with rejection, and her quiet observations are intrinsically linked to massive economic concepts. Everyday housing, employment, and demand, they aren't just abstract theories on a whiteboard. They are built upon these micro-level human decisions. It perfectly bridges the gap between grand societal structures and a single individual's daily labor. What's truly wild about this project is that Yoshida intentionally has no fixed publication date. Instead, he's actively documenting his raw, transitional writing process in a series called Until Chika Yoshino Becomes a Book. He's figuring out loud where to place the Keynes references, refining the manuscript, and openly sharing the journey. This isn't just a clever marketing ploy. It's a genuine attempt to build a relationship between the readers and the character well before the book is even finished. In a world obsessed with instant, finished products and artificially generated content, he is fully embracing the messy, unpredictable human process. Which brings us full circle, right back to those core questions about technology and society we started with. We live in an era where AI can generate instantaneous solutions and perfectly polished content in a matter of seconds. So what do we actually learn by observing a human's slow, hesitant, and highly unpolished period of transition? Perhaps it reminds us that true understanding, genuine growth, and how we navigate our complex world simply cannot be generated in milliseconds. Real growth requires friction. As we leave our thoughts unfinished today, I want to leave you with this lingering question. In a world accelerating toward technological perfection and instant gratification, where is the enduring value in our own hesitant, beautifully imperfect human evolution? Keep that in mind as you navigate your own work this week.